you, our attendees, and introducing our speakers during this session. Joining us today will be Mr. Ajay Bakaya, the Managing Director of Sarovar Hotels, Dr. Pappas, Director of the Mediterranean region at the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, Ms. Jane Mugisha, Executive Director at the Uganda Hotel Owners Association, Mr. Daniel Berihanu, Regional Manager of the Addis Ababa Hotel Owners Association, and last but not least is Ms. Laetitia Nyop, CEO of Lead Hospitality. I would like to ask a visionary question to all our speakers. Let us assume that a vaccine is effectively produced and distributed during the first half of 2021. From your perspective, please describe to us how the tourism sector will look like and what needs to be done to adapt to the new reality. We will start with you, Laetitia.
Well, thank you, Mohammed, for the question, and thank you to all the team for the organization of this summit. It's very interesting, and the period is very, very difficult for all the hoteliers. And I'm happy to be here. My company is working basically only on West and Central Africa. We give consulting advice on hotel hospitality management and as well managing contracts for hotels in Côte d'Ivoire, Togo, Cameroon, and Equatorial Guinea. So to come on your question, on the first half of 2021, well, we are all waiting for the effectiveness of this vaccine. We hope that it will be a part of the solution problems we are facing now in the hotels, because many hotels reopened in Africa from August, September, and the occupancy rate is still low. In September, we had an average of 26%. And you have to know that more or less hotels lost 83% of their RevPAR, revenue per available rooms on most of those hotels. And people are really fighting because there's no help of the government for the employees that are in the hotels, and it's a very critical situation. So the vaccine, it's really waited, but before the vaccine, we hope that we will have the borders open as soon as possible, because that's the main issue, and maybe also the test process has to be seen. Those are the two main problems facing travelers now. It was more or less this year we lost worldwide. It was almost 1 billion of tourists that didn't travel due to COVID-19, and for them to travel, of course, the vaccine is something important, but if the countries does not open the borders and the process before taking a flight is not so complicated, maybe we have a better hope in the future. Comparing Africa to maybe Europe, we have all the hotels and restaurants that reopen and operate quite normally. Most restaurants do not have really big impact now in November. I was myself in Ivory Coast last month, for example, in Benin, and I saw that people are just working normally. Of course, the hotel occupation is low because of the companies. For instance, Air France that covers all the African, West and Central African countries closed their flights a few weeks ago due to COVID-19. So that's also a big impact on the turnover. But also another solution is the local tourism. So people traveling from one country to another in Africa, and that represent normally 65% of the travelers. So that's a good thing for the hotel. But the test and the testing and also the prices of the airlines have grew up, has a sad effect, still have a sad effect on the occupation. Well, that's what I
Yeah.
wanted to say.
Yes, I am sure. Thank you for that. Mr.
Mohammed? Yeah, let me first please present my credentials and tell the audience what I'm doing here in the first place, considering most of our 100 hotels are in India. We have a significant presence in Africa. We are operating in several countries in English-speaking Africa, largely East and South Central. So at the moment, we have two properties in Nairobi, and the Nairobi situation is still pretty bleak. Our occupancies are around the 20% mark. We have a hotel in Lusaka, which is closer to the 50% mark. Lusaka is more lucky or more blessed. We have, interestingly, properties ready to open in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. We have a large one under development in Hargeisa in Somaliland. And we have another development in Aksum in Tigray, which is currently under focus for not so hospitable reasons. So we have a reasonable understanding of Africa. Now, in the context of what's happened pre-COVID and today, yes, there has been a major knock on business, and any businesses or any hotels which were over leveraged and have a lot of loans to repay would find themselves in particularly dire or difficult, challenging situations. And I think that's the key. If your debt is manageable, you have a future. If not, it's still a tough road ahead. We've had to lay off some people, but we've largely tried to accommodate as many as possible with lower salaries or with adjusted salaries. And in some countries like Lusaka, the state prevents people from being laid off. So we've retained every single employee. And luckily, there has been enough business to support that. Now, let's assume a vaccine is available in the second half of next year. By and large, Africa has been luckier than the rest of the world, and we still don't know why. Maybe it's the genetics, it's the better gene pool as far as COVID is concerned. But you people are more blessed. The number of cases are smaller, barring one or two countries. The fatalities are lower, and overall the scenario is not too bad. Now, it's a question of what vaccine becomes available for distribution to Africa. And I believe the WHO has already reserved a few million doses for distribution to the poorer countries in the world, or to the more, let's say, more challenged countries in the world. And I'm sure Africa is going to be part of that. But some of these vaccines need temperatures of -20 to -80 to transport. And I think that cold chain itself is going to cause a bit of a problem. So Africa would probably need something that's more distribution friendly, and one that is, obviously, a cost is always a factor. That is administrative cost that is reasonable and affordable to a large number of people for it to be effective. Assuming all that happens, let's say in July, in Q3 of 2021. I would give it another 6 months before we get anywhere close to pre-COVID levels. It's going to take time for confidence to build up. It is going to take time for flight frequencies and flight loads to build up. It is going to take time for governments to relax processes on quarantine and on test requirements, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The international fraternity is not flying at all, or they're flying really in dire need. So the market has fallen off the international traveler, that they've just disappeared. And I think that's going to take some time to get back to any level of normalcy. So while I don't want to be the gloom and doom pessimist, I think if we have a vaccine in July, we're looking at near normalcy in November, December, or early 2022. Mohammed?
Thanks a lot for your insights. Very valuable information. Dr. Pappas, your perspective.
Yes, good morning from Athens. Thank you very much for this invitation to participate and contribute to this very valuable discussion. I would like to say that actually this is a very strange and difficult situation that we have. It is something that we would like to, let's say, to pass as fast as possible. As you can imagine, my organization, the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, I'm based actually in Athens. I'm working with Europe, Middle East, and Africa, mainly on north part, especially with Egypt, but also we're working very close with Botswana. We have some members from Kenya, from Rwanda. So we're very engaged, and we would like to be more engaged with Africa. And actually, we also support, let's say, some initiatives that are working very close for the next day. I mean, the day that we would like to have. What is going to be the model the next day? So we are supporting very much the Future of Tourism Coalition, which is a coalition about the what's going to be the tourism afterwards, after this COVID situation, if there's going to be a third wave or something, I don't know, but we will see. In any case, the vaccine situation, and especially I'm talking now more about the European situation. We are on the south part of Europe. It is a situation that this hope is here, and we need to have this situation because vaccines are going to be probably available in the first months of 2021. But we never know what exactly is going to be the situation, because the rate of vaccines to go in each country and how the people are going to be after this period, and what's going to be the financial condition, because it's also very important, not only just to have and would like to go for travel, but also what's going to be the mentality of people and let's say the dreaming of the people. So we think that it's going to be, let's say, a rebound of around, let's say, 70 or 60 or 70%. These are the numbers that we have right now. We hope that's going to be the situation, but really, I think from my personal view, because we are working a lot with numbers these days, it's going to be a full recovery in 2022, 2023. And it will be very close related of what is going to be really the disaster on the tourism value chain after the situation, because this depends from the country, it depends from the situation. We hope that it's going to be there, and we hope that the countries and the public domain is going to support the private domain also. This is very crucial for our perspective, and we're going to be there in order to support also for a more sustainable future of tourism.
Thank you. If we just give it a guess, by which year do you think things will be going back to normal? And the question is to all our distinguished speakers. Just, yes, Mr.
My guess is 2022, Mohammed.
Yes.
I'm always an optimist, and I think that's a fair yardstick to go on. Positive things are beginning to happen. There are positivity signs going on across the world. The U.S. administration is very likely settling in now. The new administration is going to settle in, so that's a positive sign. There are not one or two, but several vaccines in the last stages of development. Some have got the nod to produce commercially. A lot of them have shown positive results in their trials. So I think, and I think, end of the day, it's going to be impossible to tie people down to their desks and say purely work from home or work. You don't need to travel anymore. Just do everything on meetings, on Zoom meetings. So I reckon 2022 would be a good normal year where we can probably cheer once again.
Thank you, Laetitia.
Yes, thank you, Mohammed. I think really, like Ajay said, it's difficult to think that 2021 can be a new restart because of the vaccine, because things has to be put in place. As Mr. Pappas said, the public sector and the private sector really has to work together, and we see a lot of things happening in Europe. For instance, yesterday in France, there was we had the president who spoke about this situation, and in Africa things are sometimes kind of slow, and we had really less people affected by this problem, and the vaccine for the African is not a solution because they've started working already. People have started doing their life like before. They're not waiting for the vaccine. In fact, the vaccine, because African thinks that this disease, these people sick in Africa are coming from abroad. They really don't think that it's African bringing African tourists coming to Paris, for example, are bringing the COVID-19. But it's the French people going, for example, to Africa that will bring the COVID-19. So the testing must be done first to the Europeans, and then maybe when it's working, coming to Africa, because then apparently they are not really impacted on the same level, and people just really need to work in Africa, because as I was saying, the public institution does not support and help like in other parts. I'm really speaking about the French speaking Africa, so West and Central Africa, what I've seen, because I was in Africa 1 month ago, and I spent 4 weeks in 3 countries, and I really saw that people restarted their life like before. Of course, we have less people coming in the country, so the upper hotels are really affected, are really still very affected, because it depends on the flight coming in the countries. But you already, people started traveling from other countries, from Western country to Central and Central to Western, and this population going to middle class hotels. The turnover, the occupation rates are really coming to a good level. A good example, I took a plane going to Abidjan in end of September. There were 2 flights, 2 big flights at the same hours, and the 2 planes were full. So that is something saying that the activity there, because the economic are really dynamic in Africa, and people have to travel. Everything cannot be made on Zoom, and we know that internet is very complicated in Africa. We really have to travel and go and meet people to make business and good business. And we think that in this, it can take until 2022, of course, but people will have to travel to come and do business in Africa. That is something sure. Zoom is something periodic that people are using, all these digital meetings, but of course people will have to meet, and I'm really optimistic on this part. And even we're seeing many type of solution that hoteliers are doing in Europe are not functioning in Africa. Maybe having an office at the hotel, delivery, food delivery. Well, everybody started that, but it's not working because it's not the same. People, when I want to eat, I go to a restaurant. I don't order. It's not the
Yes.
same philosophy.
So yes, you pay for the experience, not just for the food.
Exactly.
Excellent. Thank you. Dr. Pappas, when do you think things will be back to normal?
I think I mentioned before, I don't accept, I see in 2021 around 70% or 60 to 7%. Not before 2023 or 24, we're going to have, let's say, a different normality, because we're not going to have the same thing like before. I think many things, especially in hotels, in food sector, in restaurants, in transportation, are going to last for at least 2 to 3 years. After, let's say, the normality, because it is a way of living and people are afraid a little bit. There are many people, even here in Greece, who have a survey these days, the release that says that 2 out of 4 are not going to be accept to take the vaccine. So this is there are many things that are around, but we have to deal with the scientists. We have to deal with the decision of the politicians based on scientific facts, and we have to do something because the economy is going to be destroyed if we are going to do something and stay home, because this is not the way of living, not only in Africa but also in Europe, in Mediterranean area, in many areas around the globe, and I fully agree. So
yeah.
2024, this is going to be the case.
So human behavior is something yet to understand under these current situations. You could expect the vaccine to be out, but you can never know if people will take it or not. Excellent. And you are all into sustainability. Can you please speak about the future of sustainable tourism and how it's the perfect time to encourage governments to support it?
Yeah, I think it's the good thing of a bad situation, I can say. I mean, COVID is a very bad situation, very bad thing. We have so many deaths, so many people are suffering, and of course the secondary effect and third effect, which is the economy, recession, at least in Europe, so we're going to have minus 15, minus 15. So it's going to be a big impact. Because of this opportunity, we have a very interesting, let's say, outcome and monitoring of the behavior of the travelers after the first wave. Because now in Europe we have the second wave, and there are many thoughts about the third wave actually around February or March. So we saw many nice things, like the people are like to keep the distances, so they would like to go not a big, let's say, facilities, but going more in villas, in small places. Let's say, would like to have more authenticity, which is also a more sustainable way to support the locals. I mean, this is a very good model, and we think that it's not going to be the same after the end of this COVID. So sustainability, there are almost 5 to 6 coalitions, big consortiums around the globe right now that are working on the future project and decision making and strategy about tourism. And this is going to be based mostly on sustainability. Like, let's say, we're not going to have exactly the same over-tourism model or bad managed model. We're going to have more realistic solutions, more emphasis on small units, on authenticity, on supporting the locals. So these things are very good. And of course, more, let's say, to solutions that very close, let's say, also to the huge issue that we have to deal with, also climate change. Climate change is over there. So we have to connect things again. We have to decide what is best for us. And sustainability, I have to say, is one part of the answer, and is, I think, one of the most ones, in order to protect many things, like health, like environment, like the people that would like to trust, travel, and enjoy the authenticity. I think this is the message, and we are very, very sure that this is going to be the case based on, let's say, realistic approach. Of course, with many transformation issues, but we have to decide what exactly we would like to do. We see that also in Greece, we see that also in many other countries, and I think this is going to be the case.
Excellent. So from your perspective, things like ecotourism, adventure tourism, hiking, a lot of these activities that you do not have to, that do not force you to be in one closed space would flourish under the current conditions. I see you nodding your head, Laetitia. Would you like to comment on this as well?
Well, yes, because effectively we've been contacted by an owner in Ivory Coast, and he has 2 beautiful hotels with a zoo facing the sea in Jacqueville, which is a city 150 kilometers from Abidjan, and the places was full because you have many people that couldn't take the vacation to take a flight. First, they're scared of traveling, and they don't trust. They are not confident enough, and they really prefer going to other location. That's why local tourism is really an opportunity, and finding destination or places that are not full of people. So it was very quiet hotel with bungalows, and it was really, really the best spot for people that wanted to have fun on the weekend. And I discovered that place. You have the zoo, it's quiet, you are into the nature, you can go hiking, so you can walking. I don't know how they say it in French. I think in English, I think it's hiking, and you have many possibilities. And you are in you have fresh air. You don't meet a lot of people, and I think this is the new style. I think of going on vacation now or renting a villa. It's also another. It's also another thing that is really, really working now, and we've been also approached by an owner that has villas that want to equip for his guests to have a hotel service in the villas for VIPs, people that come for the weekend, and that is really, I think, a part of the future. So we had the Airbnb that was very, very, very that impacted the hoteliers, and now I think we will have also those small hotels and those houses that will come and take some space in Africa, because in Africa, really, if you were traveling, it was hotel, not renting a villa, and now it's really a new spirit.
Yes, thank you. And this, from Mike, I sit on a board of an association called the Jordan Trail, which is a hiking trail that is 650 kilometers long, and it's to the eastern side of the Great Rift Valley, which is an extension of Africa in a way. So I'm speaking about Africa in a way as well. So what we see is that when travel was limited, a lot of people started going on these hikes. There are homestays on the way, local communities benefit, and this links very well with sustainable tourism, I think, that Dr. Pappas spoke about. Ajay, would you like to comment on this from your perspective, and how the sectors has been evolving recently?
Yeah, I'd like to join in some of the discussion that's happened in the last few minutes, and I sincerely believe that it would be foolhardy for Africa to believe that the problem lies only outside of Africa and is transported in by people coming in. We made the same mistake in India. I remember discussions in my local gym months ago where I said, we guys are so used to all kinds of infection. We're not going to face any problem here at all. And we've had more than a regular share of people dying, passing away, and of cases. So I think the answer to anything is that it is universal, whether it is testing, whether it is vaccination, whether it is any follow-up treatment, whether it's future development of better care and medication, because the disease may mutate. So I think we've all got to be really extra careful. COVID has more than turned the world upside down and spun it in the wrong direction. And I think one lesson from it is that, just be more careful than you can ever imagine and think for a better world and for a safer world. On the sustainable side, I must confess that in our case, sustainability has taken a little bit of a beating. We were going very strong, for example, on eliminating the use of single-use plastic in hotels. So we did not have plastic bottles in our hotel guest rooms. We weren't using plastic in banquets. We weren't using plastic in restaurants. All replaced by glass bottles, much better from the environment point of view. But the moment COVID happened, guests said, "Hello, I want to perceive something that is safe and clean and sealed and hygienic, etc., etc." So we had to withdraw some of those steps, and it's a sad and unfortunate situation. But I think with COVID, some sustainability methods, some sustainability initiatives that we took have taken a bit of a backseat. So I think it's sort of wide open. Yes, Laetitia mentioned about leisure being the better alternative, and I think she's very right. And in my opinion, leisure stays which are close to large cities. So if you can drive out an hour or two or three and be in a location which is closer to nature, which is safe, which is secure, and which offers a non-cookie cutter experience. Not only for the traveler from within the city, but even for weddings, for incentive functions, for conferencing. You're close to home and you're far away. So, it works both ways and the costs are lower. I think there's great opportunity there for most hotel people. Mohammed?
Yes. And, one of the also negative impacts this has had is what I hear from areas where they have safaris, because now a lot of the animals are under threat because the tourists who used to support the local economies are no longer coming and people need food. So this is something that really needs to be addressed. I have a question from the audience before I continue with the questions I have. So a guy from Tanzania who currently works in Abu Dhabi is asking, what steps can be taken by hoteliers to promote local tourism post-COVID-19, and how can African hospitality professionals handle both local and international guests gradually, considering COVID-19 recovery will take time? So what steps can be taken now by hoteliers in Africa, you feel? Yes, Mr. Ajay.
I think the answer is that the world wants to go to places that they believe are safe and secure. Purely in this case from a hygiene point of view. So all the processes that have been laid out, all the best practices that have been laid out, whether it's WHO, whether it is local governments, whether it is local hotel associations, and over and above all of that, the question we need to ask ourselves in Africa is, how can we be the best in the world in these measures? So from foot mats that you step on before you enter, from sanitation procedures all over the place, from elevator buttons being touchless, from your check-in, etc., being touchless. There's now very economical options available where you don't have to go to a reception desk and collect your keys at all. It can all happen. Even if you have to collect your keys, they're there in a sealed envelope. You just have to go along and pick it up. In restaurants, no paper menus, but something you can simply pick up off a QR code and scan and order. Both good and bad. You could order directly now to the kitchen, so you don't need a server there at all. But at least the point of view of no paper contact. So I think all of those things, the fact that your room is well fumigated. We're following a system of sanitizing rooms and leaving them vacant for 24 hours after every departure. So we just seal the room post sanitization, and obviously it's now practical. May or may not be practical when we go to 70, 80, 90% occupancies and more financial pragmatism takes place. But every possible procedure in the book, and it doesn't cost very much in terms of hygiene, in terms of sanity, and very visible processes. So you have people walking around with gloves, you have people walking around with masks. Anybody who has anything to do with touching a surface or with food contact must be wearing gloves. Every employee should be wearing masks. In a restaurant, in a dining space, we insist that guests are wearing their masks unless except for the time that they're eating. The more of this that is visible to a guest, the safer it feels in a hotel or in the country. So for a country, the process has to start at an airport, and the taxi driver or the transport driver. I think once you convey this feeling of safety, people will come back more and more.
So you're building trust through better health and well-being standards for the time being, and then when things start opening up, this will still be beneficial because I think health will still be a priority even post-COVID-19. Excellent answer. Thanks a lot. Yes, Laetitia, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to add something. First, number one will be all the health and safety procedures that we implemented in the hotels, but also the flexibility of the cancellation policies. Today, if people want to travel, of course, we have to promote local international tourism, but when somebody travels, some have the problem of the price they pay. So we need to have attractive price and flexible cancellation policies. Because imagine today you book the cheapest price, which is normally prepaid. You book your flight, you go and your test is positive. That means you cannot take your plane to go to the hotel and you have lost your money. You cannot postpone your stay. All this is complicated for the person that has to travel. So if you're going either mostly for leisure, it's quite a nightmare, but for businessman, you can say, okay, the company will pay. Kind of. But anyway, hotels need to be flexible and really having cancellation the possibility for the guest to postpone his stay, or to be refunded at some point, maybe with 50% that they keep or something like that. People really have to be flexible, because the tourist today really is facing a big problem. If I have to travel, if I'm sick before, everything is cancelled, and I need to have a test of 48 hours. So that means I have to book the flight. It will be much more expensive. So everybody really have to play the game. I mean, the airline companies, now it's very easy to change your flight dates on the European company, but in the African company, it's quite a nightmare, or impossible. And the prices has really gone up after the COVID-19. So to promote the local tourism, you really have these things to put in place, because if the airlines are not playing the games and the hotel, it will be very, very complicated for this type of tourists. And the local tourism, we spoke about the people coming from the capitals going to the other secondary cities, but we have the regional tourists, so the people crossing from one country to another, maybe with a car. The borders are closed at the moment in some location, so that also it's a problem. And when they take the plane also, they need the test, and it's expensive. And imagine, before going, you take 1 week vacation, before going you need to test yourself before going back at your place, and if you're positive, you need to stay in quarantine 2 weeks, and you are paying for your quarantine. So people don't want to have this kind of problem. So that's why people are not traveling. So there are many barriers today in the local regulations. I mean, in Africa, from one country to another, that are making people traveling a bit complicated. So the current alternative, which is the best, like Ajay say, it's really the people, instead of going outside, they go in the hotels of the country. So it's the nationals that we have to promote, make good offers for the nationals, as they cannot travel to go abroad, go and visit, do the safaris, because it's not because you're from Paris that you went to see the Eiffel Tower. Some people, maybe in Kenya, they have I take example of Kenya, they have the money, but they don't do safari in Kenya. So maybe that can be also a way of promoting the
local tourism. I think there are many gems in Kenya, and I was there last December. It was really amazing spending time in the Masai Mara. Good. So I have a question for all of you, and we will start with you, Mr. Bakaya. And I would like to ask you, let us assume you had an extra $15 million in your pocket, and you could invest them anywhere in the world. Where, when, and how will you go about investing them?
Thank you. I hope you give me at least an IOU for $15 million. So some comfort, a slip in my pocket. But Mohammed, I would go to Africa. I would go today, and as I said, I would look for a city with a large population, and a city and a country that's perceived as being safe and secure. I would go out of the main city, 2 to 3 hours driving, and look for a piece of land that is undulating, that is in the middle of nature, and that is cheap. I'm moving out of the city because land becomes cheap. I would buy 10 to 15 acres, and I would build anything starting from 50 rooms upwards on it, with lots of activities thrown in, lots of space for a person to walk around. and a non-cookie cutter hotel. So not the standard rooms, but maybe a cluster of cottages or townhouses or something to offer people a good break. And I think there's plenty of scope there. There's plenty of money to be made there at the right time and in the right place.
Excellent. So yes, your choice is Africa. Excellent. Laetitia?
Mine is, of course, Africa, so don't ask. Well, I have a few projects because I have few owners now that had stopped the construction of the hotels. They're expecting for finance, and all the banks are really closed at the moment and don't want to invest into or give loan into debt into hospitality sectors. And we have some project really viable. And like Ajay said, I visited the hotel at the beginning of the year. Well, it's more than 3 hours. It's 5 hours from Abidjan, and which is a place where all the agriculture of the cocoa for the chocolate is made, and there is no hotel over there. I mean, no real hotel. So just building a three-star hotel over there will be full from Monday to Sunday because you have the business is there, everybody is there, but there's no hotel. All the banks are there, all the telecommunication company are there, but you don't have any hotel because any brand, no big groups want to go out of the big cities. When the owner has a project, he go and see the bank does not follow him. So it's a really big problem. If today I have this 15 or 50 millions, of course, I will invest in this kind of project, which are not in the main city where there's a lot of competition, where you have a lot of expenses for, of course, the land and so on. And you go in those other places where travelers need also good hotels. I mean, not always big star, with the ROI that is very, very good.
In terms of size, how big would that hotel be?
Well, this hotel project, it's 40 rooms. And of course, it can, because of the land, because the land is very big, there can be an extension on the second phase. But the business plan was made on 40 rooms. So this is the type of project that also have for Togo and for many cities. But because you don't even have to make a market study. When you go in the city, you just tell yourself, whoa, how do I sleep? And when you see where you sleep, you just say, I can pay 3 times this amount and I really want to sleep in a good bed.
Excellent. Very good. Okay, moving on to you, Dr. Pappas.
Yeah, I fully agree with the other speakers. I was 2 years ago in Botswana in many camps around, so it was extremely interesting experience. What I would like to add only is that I would like to select something with other criteria that we have shared, together with the opportunity to have local supply, value, and responsible businesses. I would like to all the money to stay in the area, to the locals, nothing more. We can build whatever you like, let's say smart, cheap, whatever, but we need 100% of the money to stay there. This is the only criteria that we like to serve.
That's wonderful. And I think this is really needed all over the world, not only just in Africa. Yeah. Very good. So we have a comment here, I think it's a comment, not a question, from a guy in Egypt who's saying that the sector is suffering a lot and it needs international support in order to preserve the future of people, wildlife, and historical sites, I believe, around the continent. So maybe this is something we mention here so that if anybody from the international sector or financial sector or whatever is listening, maybe this is something that really requires a lot of support. So before we conclude, I would like to give 2 minutes each to each one of our distinguished speakers to give us your final comments, please. And we start with you, Ajay.
Thank you. My concluding comments are that we still have our fight cut out in front of us. We still have some struggle to go. We still have a few months of survival, and I hope all businesses can get over this hump and be there when better times come. Echoing what another thing I want to add here is that not only is it about how safe you are at a hotel. The question is, if I pick up infection and I'm unwell, how well organized is the hotel to arrange my testing, to arrange me to get to a decent hospital, to arrange doctors for me? And that info should be available on my hotel website. I would not even dream of retaining money from anyone. We're not insisting on advances right now. And we are following a 100% refund policy if somebody has to cancel for whatever reason. We don't ask any questions. I think the next 6 to 12 months is all about RevPAR and filling up your occupancies rather than insisting on business practices that are going to keep people away from you. So I think the world has seen the worst. I think we are in for better days. But and I also hope that all of us learn the lessons from this pandemic and are better prepared to handle a similar situation if it ever were to happen again. Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Laetitia?
Yes, thank you, Mohammed. Well, I want really to close on positive also because we have many investors like this guy I just spoke about before, this man. We have many people that really had the project, which is viable project. They don't have to be disappointed or discouraged. I think the things are hard, but people still continue investing in hospitality industry, and they should continue. For the hoteliers that are already open and facing situation, well, they should take this time maybe to reorganize, to work on all the safety, health implementation in the hotel, to train the staff, to maintain the building, for example, because when tourists will come, it's not at that time that we need to do all that. So they have to prepare and really train the staff with this measure, to know the knowledge about this sickness, about the COVID-19, because maybe we have we don't hope, but maybe in the future we can have this kind of issue again. And also to try to be flexible and to offer services, other type of services that maybe they were not doing before, in order to have the much as possible guests, and maybe touch other category of clients that they were not expecting. I had, for example, a call last week with the hotel in Europe that started accommodating people that are sleeping in the street, and it's the government paying for that. It's a kind of population that they were not really thinking of having one day, but it's a kind of solution for the winter, and for them the employees are quite happy to have people in the hotel. So maybe trying to see other opportunities. I know there are quarantine hotels in main capitals in Africa, so hotels that are only reserved for the people that has to spend their quarantine. So it's a kind of possibilities, but I mean finding solution to gain customer, mostly for the hotels in the city centers.
Yes, thank you. And I think one of the very important points you mentioned that I would like to re-emphasize on is the importance of creating awareness and capacity building amongst your staff. With the amount of conspiracy theories, rumors, and things all around COVID, it's very important that your staff know exactly what they are doing to serve your customers in the best possible manner. Dr. Pappas.
Yeah, I think most of us already said a lot of things that are really interesting and useful. I just want to say that I think all of us we should build upon our strengths, and we have to see inside and see what are our strengths, how we can do many other things, especially for the locals, especially for the local community, how we can gain things during this period and during this time that we are closed, or we are trying to find a way, a light towards that tunnel in order to see what's going to be in the future. The future is going to be a little or more different, that's for sure. We have taken the lessons, I think, and we hope that we're going to change the future in a more sustainable way, because this is what really I think the travelers would like to see in the next, let's say, years or decades, a change of attitude in order to have something more healthy, more reliable, more authentic. And I think this is the way that the things are going to happen. And we're very positive, and we think that they're going to be there the next day all together and build on strengths.
Thanks a lot. So change is the only constant. The face of the future, the tourism sector would be totally different, or to a certain extent at least, but it will be different. I would really like to thank all of you for a wonderful dialogue we had, and for all the insights, wisdom, and knowledge that you shared with us today and with the audience. Thanks a lot. And with this, I conclude this session. Bye for now.
Thank you, Mohammad. Thank you, Laetitia. Ioannis, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.